Hey, hello, sacred friend. I am Lori Andress, and welcome back. Today, I am popping on to share with you 3 soulful rituals to bring 2022 to a sacred close. We are nearly halfway through the month of December. Can you believe that? I feel like the past couple weeks have just flown by so fast. From Thanksgiving here in the US to right now, I feel like I've just been in this like continuous momentum of things that are happening and unfolding and that I'm doing and being a part of and experiencing. And along the way, I've been finding myself really called to carve out a little bit of extra time for a little reflection, a soulful pause, and some listening within. And that's really the energy of what we're feeling or experiencing as we're moving towards the winter solstice. The winter solstice is that dark point of the year. It's the time where it is natural for us to sink into a softer, more reflective energy. Now, those of you who are in the Southern Hemisphere, I know you've got a complete opposite energy going and you're amping up, you're in a place of expansion. But here where I'm at, I'm experiencing that soft journey inward. And as I lean into that energy, I'm finding myself called to reflect on the last year, the events, my experiences, things that were amazing, things that were challenging, and the ways that I grew through my experiences throughout the year. I'm also finding myself called to spend a bit of time in reflection on the crystals and stones that came forward in last year's forecast as monthly allies, and to just sink into the ways that they showed up to offer support and insight and deeper connection at times along the way. I always find it really fascinating how and when and why different crystals or stones show up, the messages that they carry, and the wisdom they impart, and the space that they hold for us individually and collectively. If you've been hanging in my world for a little bit, you know that each year I do a collective crystal forecast. I sink into a reading and open up space to discover what the crystals and stones want to share for the coming year and which ones would like to step forward as our monthly allies. Yeah, it's a fun event. It's so much fun. And then I sink deeper into those crystals and stones each month within the sanctuary circle. We open up the space there to really dive deeper into how those crystals and stones are inviting us into deeper layers of self-discovery, expanding into our wholeness, and just all together holding space for the things that are unfolding in our personal and collective worlds. The 2023 crystal forecast is actually coming up in the next couple days. It's going to be on Sunday. And if that's something that you're curious about and you'd love to just sink into the space and join me for that reading, I'd love for you to join me. You can sign up over on my website. Just pop on over to the events page. I'll put a direct link in the show notes so you can pop over there and sign up. It'll be on Sunday, the 18th. From 10 to 11:30. I always like to carve out a little extra time around this because the space, and carve out a little extra time and create space for the extra things the crystals and stones want to share. They always seem to have some extra little messages and insights along the way. There are a couple themes that are beginning to show up for the coming year around the energy And as I'm preparing for that, I'm just tuning in. I'm leaning into what messages want to come forward, what energy is surfacing, what themes are emerging for us on a collective level. I'll be talking more about those on Sunday. So I'd love for you to join me. Follow the link below, sign up, and we'll see you then. All right, so right now though, in my own preparation, it's had me thinking about some of the things that I just naturally do every year as the calendar year is winding down. And I really start looking at these things as we step into the month of December, and really as strongly as we hit the window between the winter solstice and the new year itself. There's a window of time in there where I just feel like the energy is incredibly supportive for reflection, introspection, doing some exploration regarding what has unfolded, what are the gifts of the year, and what wants to be released, and along with what wants to be planted going forward. It's a really great time to just slow down and listen within, and really honor and trust the deep desires within our heart. Sometimes we don't give ourselves space to listen to those deep desires. We dismiss them, we rationalize and create ideas and stories about why perhaps they're not possible. And ultimately, when we listen within and we create the space, we come into the awareness that it's the stories and the beliefs and the limitations that we put upon it that we're actually being invited to move through. I had a really interesting experience this morning. I was in a conversation with my own mentor, and we were speaking about the thing that's pulling me forward at this time. What is the desire, the dream, the vision, the idea, the thing that's in my heart that's calling me forward? And I noticed how quickly I wanted to take that desire and put it on the side and actually push it out into a much further away, much longer, like distant into the future sort of desire. Because I had all these stories about why that isn't possible yet at this time. I had my own imagined timeline. And what I realized was that my heart, my soul is really asking me to lay down those limitations, those timeline limitations that I've been putting upon myself, that have been, creating their own form of stress and dis-ease and discomfort in life. And I think one of the beautiful aspects of this time as we near the winter solstice, as we move towards the new year, is that we're really invited to listen. Yeah, I know I've said that several times already, and I'll probably say it again, but that time to pause, to really honor the deeper desires, and then to also pay attention to the things that we're throwing up as our objections, the things that stop us. And then really let ourselves explore that in a deeper and more meaningful way. This is where the big, deep work actually unfolds on our spiritual path and our sacred journey, and moving forward in a path of self-discovery and embodying what we're here to do and share in the world. Yeah, that's where the yumminess is. That's where the deeper work is. So how do we get there? How do we access that? That's always one of the big questions. How do we actually open the space to safely sink in, comfortably, naturally, and with ease, sink into those places of question and inquiry? And to me, I think one of the most potent pathways into opening that door of listening within is through reflection, through journaling, through giving ourselves space to bring voice in some way or another to what it is that is within ourselves, what wants to be heard. So, as we talk about these three sacred rituals for bringing the year to a meaningful close, we're going to talk and we're going to kick it off with reflection. Because I actually think that is kind of the overarching pathway to access these three rituals. So the first one really is to simply sit down and do some reflection. Now, if you're a person who sits down at the computer and you just type and everything flows out, go ahead and do that. If you're a person who pulls out a journal and gets cozy and wants to write, go ahead and do that. I love to do a dance between writing in my journal and pulling out just blank sheets of paper and just writing, letting myself free write. I tend to do that free write on a blank sheet of paper when I'm going to burn something, like offer it to a fire, if it's something that I'm intending to release energetically. But when I'm going to really sink into a reflection that I want to look back on, I often just put it in my journal and keep it there. So what are some places to begin for this reflection? I think a really great year-end reflection starts with a couple questions. The first one, what was amazing in this year? The next one, what was challenging? And then the third one, how have I grown through my experiences? That to me is such a vast question, and it opens up so much space to really acknowledge and celebrate the ways that we have grown. I think sometimes we just go through life and we move from one thing to the next and we overlook the moments of pause and celebration to acknowledge and regard our own growth and healing and change and transformation. Those moments of growth and healing and change and transformation are the small things. They're the moments where you recognize yourself responding to an experience differently than maybe you would have 6 months or a year ago. It's when you say yes or no to an invitation that you would have had a different feeling about in the past. When you have more presence in an experience where otherwise you would have reacted or responded in a way that just isn't in your highest self. Yeah, those moments when we can recognize those, make note of them, that's when we are planting seeds for what we want to continue to create. Now, along the way, we often also recognize places where we go, ooh, that was definitely not, not the best experience, or I could have done that differently. And when we give ourselves the space to simply say, I could have done that differently, I would like to have done it differently by, and then giving ourselves the space to simply just write out what we maybe would do a little bit differently. Just acknowledging, honoring, and letting ourselves receive the nugget of growth, the insight of awareness, receive the insight of awareness, and then release the ways that we punish ourselves, shame ourselves, judge ourselves for having done it in a way that we maybe perceive as wrong or not good enough or hurtful or whatever it is, whatever judgment, shame sort of energy we have around it. When we can allow ourselves to receive the wisdom of this is what I'm learning from that, and release what has been, we create space. We create space for possibilities. So back to those three rituals. The first one really is around sinking into reflection. Again, that first question, what was amazing? Second question, what was challenging? Third question, how have I grown through these experiences. But then in that, there shows up two more questions. What wants to be released as this year comes to a close? And what seeds am I planting as this year comes to a close? Yeah, when we recognize those places where we've grown, we want more of that. We want to continue to expand. We want to continue to live our lives, lead our lives from that place of, that new place of wisdom. And we want to call more of that in. So we want to plant it like a seed in our reality, in our experiences. And when we recognize we've held a little shame or judgment or, punishment of self around something, we want to honor it and let it go. Let it be complete. Now, this is where the second two rituals come into play. And this is something that I think is really easy to do and I think so incredibly empowering. The first one is a releasing ritual. If you have releasing rituals that you kind of go ahead and use those. But I want to share one of mine with you. This releasing ritual is to pick up something natural from the earth, something very simple. It could be a stone, a pine cone, a nut, a stick, a leaf, a feather, something that you can pick up, hold in your hand, and use your breath to exhale the energy, the energetic essence of what you're releasing into. And then you can return to the earth in a sacred space. So I have right in front of me some chestnuts. We have a chestnut tree outside. So here we go, little chestnut. It's dried, it's from this fall. And I'm just going to tune in to that energy of what wants to be released. I'm going to notice where it is in my body. I'm going to notice what emotion is around it. And I'm going to use my breath to exhale 3 times into this nut. And then I'm going to take it outside and I'm going to return it to the earth. Now you can get really, real elaborate or super simple with this. Both are perfect. You decide what feels right, what feels natural, what feels easy, what feels aligned. So just 3 full exhales. Awesome. So that is what I'm going to return to the earth. Now I have another chestnut. And this one's going to represent what I want to plant. Yes, please, more please. I want to experience more of this in my life. That is what this chestnut is going to hold. And so I'm going to think about some of those places where I'm celebrating how I've grown and expanded, how I've chosen something different in my life, how I've allowed myself to be stronger in my boundaries, clearer in my connections, more loving, more present, ways that I've found fluidity and flow in my day-to-day life. Things I want to celebrate. The ways that I recognize I am being just a little bit different in life. Now, with that, there's also things where I recognize, yes, this really worked in my business this year. I'm going to celebrate that. I want more of that. Or, yes, Chris and I really bonded and came together over, whatever it is. I want more of that. I'm going to let myself just really drop into my heart and again connect into the emotions, the physical sensations of what it is I'm wanting to plant more of in my life. And I'm going to, again, 3 full breaths. You'll probably notice these aren't like little soft, like secret kind of quiet. They're full, loud, deep breaths that come from way deep in my belly. They're full breaths. Let yourself really fully exhale and bring life to what it is you're releasing and what it is you're planting. So ritual 2 is a release. Ritual 3 is to plant. All right, my sacred friends. So, as you are bringing this year to a close, I invite you to sink into these rituals. Share your experiences with me. I'd love to hear in the comments what your experiences are. What are you releasing? What are you planting? What celebrations do you have from this past year? And then I want to invite you to join me I have two actually upcoming events. The first is the 2023 Crystal Forecast on December 18th at 10 a.m. Central Time. And I also have on the 22nd is the Winter Solstice Ceremony. I'd love to see you there. You can head on over to my website, laurieandress.com/events, and you'll find both of those there. And I will put links in the show notes. All right, my sacred friends, have a beautiful day. And as always, shine brightly. Bye for now.